The stream is live. All right, I'll start in a second. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. After a week off, we are fresh, we are clean, we are mean, and ready to get going on week 5. Tyler just woke up late today, so he's all in a tizzy.
I'm all over. Don't know what I'm doing. Meds haven't kicked in yet. We're here though. Technical issues here to start. Not Doug's issue. If you can go to www.helpgetdouggetnewmic.com, he's been having issues with his microphone, his USB cable lately. Ooh, that's not good. You could say it's a little curved. A slight curve. Yeah, mute though.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All right, let's start over.
Oh my god. Fucking kids. I blame the kids for whacking into my mic and shit. Anywho. All right, I'll leave it straight up like yeah. All right. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. The technical difficulties happy hour apparently this morning. Oh my god. We are back after a week off. We are mean, we are green, we are clean, and we are ready to cover everything in the NFL. Tyler's all up in a tizzy, woke up late this morning, slept through his alarm, so he is not medicated, so I apologize in advance for anything that may come out of his mouth. But Tyler, other than being out of your routine, how the hell are you?
I'm great. I mean, my mic works good. My mind works.
You shut your mouth.
My mind works good so far. We'll see. Car ran real good. If you guys know what Talladega Nights is.
Car ran real good. That's right.
No,
who doesn't know what Talladega Nights is? And if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, spoiler alert. There's
funny.
no spoiler alert.
No,
because it's been years. No, we finally got back to normal in the NFL, and we'll get into that right now. Let's go right into it.
Well, I'm gonna go into injuries first. So because we've had the fantasy landscape, as we know, every week we've got injuries. We've had some updates on Christian McCaffrey going to Germany. Blah 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 blah. Looks like he's not going to be activated when he's eligible. Looks like Cooper Kupp. The Rams are on a bye week in week 6, so it looks like he shall return in week 7. So those rosters with Cooper Kupp, excited to get him back. But we did have some big injuries this week. The biggest one probably is Texans wide receiver Nico Collins. Hurt his hamstring after a 67-yard touchdown catch. He's considered, at first it was day to day, and now it's week to week. They have the Patriots this week, which we'll get into that in a minute about their new exciting news. So a bit of a, are they going to need Nico Collins to beat the Patriots? The answer is no. So we'll see what Nico's status is as the week goes on here. We should know more once practices start and all that good stuff. We did have Dolphins running back Devin Achane exited Sunday's victory over the Patriots, and he entered concussion protocol. The only good news about this is they are off this week, so he should be fine for week 7. Probably missed having a big game there. Jalen Wright looked good in his stead, and the Miami Dolphins ran the ball well. So a little bit of a bummer there on the one team I have Achane on, which I could have won, but I didn't. And then another running back, Vikings running back Aaron Jones went down with a hip injury. He'll have an MRI, or he did have an MRI on Monday to determine the severity. They are also on a bye week this week for Minnesota, so he may not miss some time, but if he does, hopefully you've got Ty Chandler rostered. And in deeper leagues, let's go deep, Tyler. You want to go deep? Maybe roster Myles Gaskin? I know. We're going to party like it's 2019.
Ty Chandler will take the Aaron Jones role, and then Gaskin will have the other role.
Yep. Some other quick injuries. Zach Moss appears to have avoided serious injury. It didn't look good in the game. I was like, oh, he broke that bitch or high ankle sprained it. So we'll keep an eye on his progress reports. Obviously, Chase Brown would be the beneficiary there if Zach Moss missed time. And then Travion Williams.
Better.
Yeah. And then Travion Williams is one of those deep guys that like he may get some snaps. Cool. Josh Allen hit his head hard on the field. Probably had a concussion, but went back into the game.
He did. But everybody's worried. Hey, maybe we should start talking about Josh Allen maybe retiring like we talked about Tua, because
all right.
It's like, hey, if you're going to do it for one person, got to do it for the other. And they sent his ass back out. If they sent Tua back out, we'd be all up in a tizzy.
Oh, my God. Everyone. Yeah. He only missed one snap, shockingly enough. David Njoku returned this week, but then he was injured again. I'm afraid it might be a lost season for David Njoku this year.
Yeah.
So he returned from injury.
Yeah, they have Deshaun Watson. It's a loss.
I know. Yeah. In a limited role, but then he suffered a knee injury, and he's scheduled to get an MRI, so we'll keep an eye on that one. A couple other injuries here as I go through. Aaron Rodgers tweaked his ankle. He'll be fine. Little bitch.
Nico Collins got placed on the IR just now.
Really?
Yes.
Oof. That's not great, Bob.
Week to week, huh?
Wow, he's going to miss 4 games. The NFL's leading receiver. Good thing I just traded for Tank Dell with you.
Yeah.
Jesus, that team can't take any more hits. Anyway, Xavier Legette left the game with a shoulder injury. He said he's a little banged up, but he should be ready to go for next week's game.
Did he say that?
He did. He said
how?
He said it like this: that I'm a little banged up. I expect to be ready for the next game. Something like that.
Him and Gambit have the same.
I think there needs to be a buddy movie.
I think Xavier Legette should be in the next Gambit movie.
Can it be Dr. Charles Xavier Legette?
I like that.
In the new X-Men movie with Gambit, they could be like, "I'm gonna go out and get me some bread." It's like almost like a Dusty Rhodes, but like when you're chewing on your tongue. It's weird.
Yeah.
Tommy Tremble had a really bad concussion. Looks terrible. Won't get into that. Let's see. Derek Carr went down. He's gonna miss some time.
He's got a hip.
Rumors are it's gonna be Spencer Rattler season, and I know you are excited about that because Spencer Rattler has been one of your guys for quite some time. So I know you are very, very excited that it looks like he's going to pull the start, which is good. So I think Rattler, here's what we all said, right? In the drafting of Rattler was, what if Derek Carr struggles? Yeah. And he's struggling right now. He started off the season super hot in Clint Kubiak's system. He struggled. What if Rattler comes in and starts to ball out? Does Carr come back? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Jake Haener ain't it.
No, Haener's not it. He's a decent backup. I won't say he's a good backup, but Rattler could be their future, and I think this is the right move to try to figure out, hey, do we have somebody here, or do we got to look into next year? Because the car's falling apart.
Yeah, the car looks good on the outside at first, and then you drive it for like 1,000 miles, and you're like, this thing kind of sucks.
And the mascara isn't actually tattooed on. He just puts it on every game.
Yeah, it just starts running and running and running. It's not fun, Bob. All right, let's shall we get into this week? I think we shall.
Let's do it.
Let's start with Thursday because that was the funnest game of the week by far. Yeah. It was the Falcons and the Buccaneers, an absolute slobber knocker of a shootout. The Buccaneers get up big, the Falcons come crawling back. And I was talking to Tyler earlier this week, or last week rather, and I said to him, this Atlanta Falcons team reminds me of the Vikings team 2 years ago when they had these absurd come from behind wins, like the Buffalo game and some other games that they had. I'm like, it must be a Kirk Cousins thing.
It could be. Cousins looked the best he's looked all year. Darnell Mooney is legit. He's back into his like 2021 or 20 form when he was balling out as a rookie. Had like 1,000 yards his sophomore year, I think.
Yep.
Like he was a promising young player, and then just injuries derailed him like crazy. And now it looks like he's back, and he is kind of the 1B to Drake London's 1A. Drake London finally has a big game that we all wanted to see.
Game. Yeah.
I was telling you, I was a little worried he was more Michael Pittman than he was Mike Evans. This game, he showed me a lot that I have not seen from him in his career. Like,
Yeah.
I was telling you off air after the game, I'm like, his hand placements during these catches, like, there's somewhere he should basket catch, but his hands were in the diamond position and he was snagging them by his belt buckle, like, and just with ease.
Yeah.
He's a very good receiver, and I think he's finally letting the beast out, letting it go. So that's good to see. Kyle Pitts looked the best I've seen him.
I thought he was dead.
He was like analytics and everything. He was not playing well. He was not running good
No.
routes. He was not
His
separating.
separation was booty cheeks.
And
Yeah.
this game, they were playing zone against the Falcons, and Pitts was just
KJ Britt is not a good coverage linebacker since
No.
Dennis went down on IR. So that was a big matchup thing too. Like Britt was bad in coverage, and Pitts made him look terrible.
Yep, Pitts had at least 3 yards of ability to be able to move around and run, and we all know he can go. Like when he gets full speed, he can move, and he's a big boy. So maybe this will kind of get a little giddy up in his step, but it was good to see Pitts moving like we saw. And I mean, Ray McLeod, I've been starting him in a league where I have nobody. He's like 12 points every week, and it's nice. You got to remember, Ray McLeod in Clemson was a 5-star recruit. This guy was like quick mover, elite kick returner. And
he's bounced around the league a lot.
Yeah, his routes weren't great, and I think finally I think he's in year 6. He's finally kind of playing the receiver position more like he should. So and Bijan's the one suffering.
Yeah, Bijan. I mean, obviously he's splitting carries for the most part with Algier.
Who's a good
Bijan,
running back.
I think Bijan, I mean, he's set up in a smash spot this week. So I think if you can maybe send out some slight buy lowish on Bijan and probably another running back we're going to talk about here next. But, the top 2 dynasty running backs are really hurting and not doing all that well. And I think it's a perfect window to open up because if you look at the Falcons' schedule coming up, it's really set up for Bijan to have a really successful month here coming up. So maybe offer some buy low and try to get Bijan on your team. Kirk Cousins is interesting too because, he throws for 500 yards in this one. But if you look at his previous starts, he's kind of all over the place. I wouldn't be buying into it. This Tampa Bay defense without Antoine Winfield Jr. and some of the other losses that they have just is it's not great. So I think the Buccaneers are a great team that if you're playing against them, you want to start your passing attack against them. Go ahead.
Is Davis the corner that the Lions traded for on draft night?
Yes.
That's made a huge difference in their passing attack. And they're going with youth, and the Lions, they seem to just put him they put him on DK, and he got burned a couple of times, but he played tough against DK.
Yeah, Davis is a pretty good corner. I wouldn't call him like a great corner, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's got length. He's a big guy. He would have played well against London, I think, and they're missing that.
I do want to point out some stuff on the Buccaneers. I mean, it was a pretty, it was a good Evans game. Godwin was fairly quiet. But I don't know if you've noticed, but the usage and target share for Cade Otton is getting better and better, and he is definitely a startable tight end every week. I think there's a reason. If he keeps it up.
Jalen McMillan's been out for 2 games, and
Trey Palmer was out in this one too.
I think they miss McMillan, and also if you haven't seen Baker Mayfield go undercover for Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
I gotta watch that.
It's amazing. It's so good. At first, I thought it was Gardner Minshew. I was like, "What the?" It kind of looked like him. No, it was Baker, and Jalen McMillan and him were having fun back and forth, and I think he's going to be a huge second half player if he can get healthy because I still believe in the talent. I think they're missing that third piece, and rookies usually take half a year to get going, and I think he will be somebody who really, as long as he's playing. I mean, Darius Slayton is telling them to watch out.
Jesus. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go on to the Sunday morning till your Vikings. Well, you're kind of Vikings against the Jets. This was Darnold's first real kind of flop of a game. We know the Jets defense is good, right? They're not giving up a ton of points. We also know that the Jets fired their head coach just yesterday. Robert Saleh is adios amigos, and they're going with their DC is going to be their interim head coach. I want to talk about Breece Hall in this one. I think Breece, along with Bijan, they're both buys. I think Breece has a good bounce back week this week against Buffalo. These guys are 1 and 2 in dynasty running back ranks for the most part. People might have McCaffrey up there, but I'm saying currently, these guys are 1 and 2 for a reason. I know Braylon Allen's dug into it, but Breece Hall, as far as his routes run and stuff like that, it hasn't changed. So he's due for a big, big game. So any of these two running backs, if you can go and acquire them, I wouldn't say on the cheap. You're not going to get them on the cheap, but for a little bit of a reduced price, they're like a flash sale. Like this week only, get 10% off.
Black Friday sale for sure.
Yeah, of Bijan and Breece, because after this week, I expect them all to be right with the world, and that window is probably going to close. I'm excited for the Vikings after the bye because hopefully they'll get TJ Hawkinson back, and their schedule starts to ease up quite a bit too. And the pass catchers on the Vikings are going to eat. So
Jordan Addison.
having Hawkinson in a couple of dynasty leagues just chilling when my teams are doing really well is just like a blessing, because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be able to start TJ Hawkinson every week on a team that's already good.
Yeah, I've been thrown out in a league like Cole Kmet, Isaiah Likely, and I get him back after this bye week. So that is super, super nice. Clint in the chat said Nico just went on IR. Clint should have been on like 10 minutes earlier. So with the Vikings, Darnold kind of goes back to form. It's great defense. He's played good against other defenses. I think San Fran isn't the defense we think they are. So I think that's why he played well against San Francisco.
I would agree with that.
And the Jets are a legit defense. Garrett Wilson getting 22 targets.
Woo-hoo! He leads the NFL in targets right now,
It's the second most from Antonio Brown with like 23 when he was in his prime. Garrett Wilson, I don't know what to think with him because everything is short. They're not doing anything special. Nathaniel Hackett's a bad OC. And you know what's funny about Salah getting fired? He went into the office thinking about firing Nathaniel Hackett this week before he got fired.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers was like the protector shield over Hackett because that's his boy?
I 1,000% think it's Woody Johnson and Aaron Rodgers plan this out because I don't think Aaron Rodgers likes the Salah.
I don't think. Here's the thing. I was talking to one of the guys at school pickup, and we were talking about Rodgers, and I go, this guy sucks at every relationship he's ever had in his life. He doesn't have a good relationship with his family. He doesn't keep relationships with women. He doesn't have good relationships with head coaches. Like he's just. I go. Maybe it's an Aaron Rodgers problem.
Yeah, and ESPN with the Pat McAfee show had to like cut him off after a couple of comments. They like, okay, we can't have you on for like 6 months.
Yeah, he's going to be on today.
Yeah, and with Clint, he says in the chat, I'm out on Garrett. If I can send it for good return. I have searched like Puka for Garrett Wilson. I think I'm okay with if you can handle the IR stint. I think Puka and the offense he's in will eat when he's back, and I love Puka. Garrett Wilson, I like the player. I just think I'm so worried about the Jets as a team once Rodgers is gone, and Rodgers is not playing like he used to. So,
if the Jets end up having a top 12 pick, they got to go. They'll take a quarterback for sure.
They have to, and this might not be the draft to do it. That's the thing.
But they're going to feel the pressure.
Yeah,
and, I mean that's what they do.
In Viking side, I mean, it's such a consolidated offense. It's nice. Like, I love offenses like this. Like Jefferson, Addison, if you need to, as a third receiver. Hawkinson when he comes back. Aaron Jones. And then Darnold in the Superflex is just perfect.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's move it on. We'll do a couple quick little hitters on some of these other games that don't have like as deep of meanings.
Should we do Ravens and Bengals quick?
No.
That one might take a while.
That could take a bit. Let's do Panthers Bears. This is a sweet spot for Caleb Williams in his schedule. So if you bought low on Caleb after he struggled after the first few weeks, the next month is set up really nicely for Caleb. He faces Jacksonville, I think, this week, and they're not good.
Yep.
So he's got a really nice soft schedule going on. I know I've had to start him in some leagues because of some injuries and just the way my rosters are built, and I'm perfectly okay with it. This was the perfect DJ Moore revenge game. I saw it coming. I started him in DFS. He scores 2 touchdowns. Hopefully he's not sitting on the sideline with no one around him looking all pouty again, because that was kind of where we were last week before we had the big week this week. And then with the Panthers, Chuba Hubbard. It's got to be one of the big surprises of the season. I know Jonathan Brooks is due to come back soon, but if Chuba Hubbard's playing well, they'll probably mix Brooks in. So I know the narrative was like, oh, Brooks will take over the backfield. I don't know that that's going to be the case. We might see just a straight 50-50 split at some point.
Yep. Hubbard, if they think Brooks is 100% back, they might trade Hubbard to like Dallas or a team that needs him, even though Rico Dowdle played well. But I think Miles Sanders might go when he comes back, and then Brooks will take his spot.
Sanders, you got to pay it. You got to pay that salary though. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, Panthers could eat it, but they could get like a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick for him.
Yeah.
Brooks could take that pass catching role, which Sanders has been very good in lately. Jalen Coker, when Legette's been out, he is a lot of people's like darling. Like Thor loves Jalen Coker.
We just picked him up in a league.
Yes, and I have him in a bunch of leagues because of Thor's recommendation. And when he speaks, I listen when it comes to college players. So
because he's a god, dude.
Yeah, that is true. I don't want to mess with him. I mean, I met him in person. He's not as ripped as Thor, but he's close.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. He's no, but the Panthers. I thought Bryce Young coming in mop-up duty, it's like he didn't care and he played good. Like, it's like, hey, Bryce, maybe you shouldn't just be panicking as much and just go out there like you just don't give a damn. And he looked good. He wasn't overthinking. He was just doing it. And then the Bears, like you said, Rome, I think, is going to be way better in the second half. So if you have a buying opportunity for Rome, go out and do it.
Yeah, and I think the DeAndre Swift, the first 3 games of the season were dreadful. Now that he's got a couple good games, the matchups have been good, and they continue to be good. So, yeah, I would sell in this next couple of weeks on DeAndre Swift if you have the opportunity. If not, just ride out and get the points you can and call it a day. Let's move on to the Commanders. Jaden Daniels probably had his first, I wouldn't say he struggled. He still did well from a fantasy perspective because he had 85 yards on the ground, but we saw the completion percentage dip under 60%, which is rare for him, against the Cleveland Browns defense that is pretty good. And the Browns are just busted. I don't want anything to do with any of the Browns.
Yep.
Like, it's bad. It's so bad. Stefanski wanted Watson to run a play on 4th down. He just walked off the field. Like, it's
Deshaun Watson doesn't give 2 shits about football anymore.
No, because they paid him too much guaranteed money. So why should he?
Yep. He's got nothing to play for. The off the field stuff has made him like nobody likes him as a fan. So he
just settled his thing because he was like, I'll pay you money.
Yeah, he's got nothing. Like, fans don't like him, so he's not playing for like heart or anything or like the fans because he knows they hate him. So like in his mind, he's the villain and he doesn't give 2 shits about anything.
Yep.
And
sad.
And you got one of the most like loved players behind you in Jameis. Players love him. Fans love him.
He's the only hope for this offense.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
He's going to throw picks. Yeah. But it's better than throwing like
it's fun.
a yard above the line of scrimmage and just going like dink and dunk. Amari Cooper has like 6 catchable balls. He drops 2 of them usually a game because Amari Cooper's hands are back from his rookie year. Like he just I think Cooper's playing with no oomph anymore because he doesn't get 2 shits.
He should get traded.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be like a buy because when he gets traded, I think it's going to be a decent landing spot. And Nick Chubb, when he comes back, this offensive line is just torn apart.
They're hurt.
It's tough. Like it's
and Njoku, like I said earlier, Njoku looks like his season might be, just a lost season for him.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy's dropping balls too. It's
Elijah Moore's not a thing. Like
Elijah Moore's dad is on X complaining. We're back to the Browns.
Yeah, that playoff season last year was nice, and now it's Joe Flacco's not there anymore. So
yeah, Jim Schwartz has turned into pumpkin with his defense because he doesn't have a game wrecker in Myles Garrett healthy. Like Myles Garrett he's got both feet hurt. You know what you need playing football? Feet.
I think at least 2 of them. Yeah.
And yeah, Jane Daniels, I was wrong. Like he's good.
Yeah,
but I will say Cliff Kingsbury, he's got 2 more games of being a good play caller. Then usually by week 8, it falls apart. I am telling you, it falls apart halfway through.
Wouldn't surprise me. And in your leagues, if you're looking for a buy on Washington, go buy Ben Sinnott, please. Like Zach Ertz isn't going to be here
Yes.
forever, and Sinnott's going to be great. So I would
Diamond Brown.
do that.
McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean Brown's like free in leagues.
Yeah.
Still, but McCaffrey you'd probably have to trade for. All right, Patriots Dolphins. Other than the Patriots finally making the move to Drake May this week, because Tyler, I'm a longtime Patriots fan since I was a wee boy. And I've seen some really bad Patriots teams before they had the dynasty. They won 6 Super Bowls, and that was all good. And I was all about like resetting and getting back to normal. That game against the Dolphins, which the Dolphins were starting Tyler Huntley, they commit double-digit penalties for over 100 yards. Jacoby Brissett throws the ball way too hard to Jalen Polk. He has to adjust to it. You thought he had a touchdown, then he didn't.
Beautiful catch. Beautiful adjustment.
Beautiful catch, Peter. They give that, they should have won that game, and they absolutely did not. And it was Scott Zolak said it on the radio. He said, this is the worst loss we've seen since Brady left, and he's not wrong. It's bad. So Drake May is going to come in this week. He's going to start against the Houston Texans, the Nico Collins Houston Texans. I'm excited to see what Drake May can do, because watching Jacoby Brissett play football, I know the line's not good. I saw a statistic earlier this week. It was a list of like the top 10 quarterbacks that have taken sacks in their first 50 starts. And on that list was like Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow. Like they were all good quarterbacks that played when they were young and took sacks, and they all ended up fine. So I know the offensive line is, everyone's like, oh, Drake May's going to get killed. He's not going to get killed. He'll be fine.
Guess who's 6'4", 6'5", and 235 pounds? It's Drake May. He can take a little bit of a beating. He did it at North Carolina. North Carolina didn't have a great offensive line either.
No, they did not.
So Drake May, I love his talent. I had him in no leagues at the beginning of the year. I have him in 5 now.
Trader Tyler over there.
Does this remind you of anything? Justin Herbert, I had him. He was one of my favorites. I had him in maybe 1 league, and I traded for him at week 1 when he wasn't starting. And everybody's like, oh, his development is not doing, yeah. And I traded for him in almost every league I could.
Rookie season. Look at him now, though.
I'm not saying, well, I mean, that's the offense. His consistency is great. But no, with Drake May, I think letting the game kind of slow down a little bit mentally for these 4 or 5 games was good. Like he's looking at it and being like, okay, I'm listening to the play go through. He's a smart kid. So I'm not worried about him at all. He's going to have lumps. You're not going to really start him for fantasy unless you have nobody like me in a league.
It's like a bye week or something.
I'm starting him in UDPL just because, hey, let's just have fun.
Let's ride. Yeah, I like it.
And I'm just excited. I think this is great news for Jalen Polk if you can buy low, because his underlying stats are good. Like
his separation is one of the best in the league.
Yeah, he's getting more playing time, and he just needs more targets. And Demario Douglas, I think he'll be the one that gets hit the most with this, because Drake Mays, you know what? He's going to want to look downfield, and I think that's going to be good for this offense. So I'm very excited for this game. And hey, a Patriots game that I'm actually going to watch. That's some big news here.
Yeah, it is.
Dolphins. There's no Vikings.
Dolphins, I just can't wait to get Tua back. That's all. That'll make the offense go. Let's leave it at that. Jaguars, Colts. Anthony Richardson was ruled out of this one. Joe Flacco almost completes an epic 2-touchdown comeback in the 4th quarter, as Joe Flacco does. But the Jaguars hang on to get their first win. Really, the story of this game was Tank Bigsby. Oh
my God.
He's everyone's hot waiver wire ad in redraft leagues if you didn't have him. Etienne hasn't looked great this year. I'm going to be completely honest. And
he hasn't looked good in 2 years.
The end of last year, he was bad, but he did look good at some parts of the season last year. But Tank Bigsby is the one that's making the explosive plays that Travis Etienne used to make. So I don't know if Etienne's hurt or what the deal is, but Tank looks completely different than he did from his rookie season, where he couldn't do anything right. He'd have balls clang off his hands. He had big fumbles that cost them games. And then he was just riding the pine the rest of the season. But it looks like Tank Bigsby has really course corrected, and he's looking like a flex play, at least, going forward.
Yeah, he was my RB4 in that class. Then it went Chase Brown at RB5. That was you and I's surprise when we went through our rookie rankings in that class.
Yep.
Tank was loved by a lot of players. the issue was consistency and hanging on to the ball. He fumbled the ball a ton his rookie year, and I think that mentally just destroyed his confidence.
And they were bad. They were bad timing fumbles too. Like
yeah,
they
like
one got returned for a touchdown. Like it was bad.
Yeah, they like lose the game. He is running with more like, okay, this is where the play's going. If the hole's open, I don't give two shits. I'm running like my hair's on fire. And he is running with power like we saw his freshman year at Auburn. People, if you don't know who Tank Bigsby is, go watch his freshman Auburn film. He was him. He was the like next chosen one as a freshman. In Pigs leagues, Doug, we couldn't get him if you didn't have him already because he was supposed to be the next dude.
Yeah.
He's a very good player, and I'm happy he's running like this and panning out. Brian Thomas Jr. Like
he's
a wide receiver 1.
He good.
And this is the reason why I went out and I traded for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, because with a guy like Brian Thomas, like you see Malik Neighbors making Daniel Jones look good. I know Trevor Lawrence, as a fact, is better than Daniel Jones, and he's not playing like it lately. But this last game, when you're like, okay, I've got this stud number 1, let's just target him and let him do his thing. And the 85-yard bomb, he's the fastest player so far this year in the NFL, the fastest time player. Like, he's so good. And if you got him at pick 108, 109. Yeah, 111.
Superflex 111. I got him at 111 in one league, and I was like shocked that he fell to me.
People were taking Bo Nix ahead of him because hey, you got a starter. Like Jonathan Brooks, if you took Brooks before him, you're kind of kicking yourself because he's a top 12 receiver in Dynasty right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he reaches into the top 8 at the end of the year.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
The Colts, AD Mitchell is getting more play. And Josh Downs got hurt again.
Yeah. And his target percentage has been great the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, like Josh Downs, he had 12 targets. He was on to a big game, and then this is the issue he's had throughout his whole entire college year. Just injury. So I feel like he's one of those guys that we're gonna wish we saw the full potential, but we're not going to.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's move it on. Bills Texans, not a lot there. I mean, there was nothing that really stood out
Stroud,
other than
beautiful
Nico.
deep bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nico injury was stinks. I mean, obviously we'll see target percentages for Tank Dell and Diggs go up. You know, it's interesting. You know, Xavier Hutchinson is an interesting ad this week in your deeper dynasty leagues because you got to remember, like the third receiver, Noah Brown. Remember him last year? He had like 3 100-yard games when he was the third guy. So it could happen for a guy like Xavier Hutchinson. You know, so that's something to keep an eye on. But the Bills, without Shakir, I mean, Keon Coleman had that nice touchdown, but it's interesting. Josh Allen has been the QB1 overall twice, and then outside the QB 18 3 times, which he only did one time all last year. Yeah.
This is Joe Brady. People have said, defenders in the NFL have said Joe Brady's offense is
against the Bills, and it's really working.
Yeah, because Joe Brady's offense is plain. It's a lot of people know what's going to happen. And without, like, if you can't run the ball consistently, like James Cook still had a good game, but if you have to get away from it and you're down, they struggle because they don't have the Diggs to target completely. Khalil Shakir was hurt this game. Keon Coleman is still a rookie. He's young. He's making some rookie mistakes, but he's also making some big plays. And he still needs to kind of get his feet under him. But yeah, I think this team is going to start struggling, and we're going to see maybe the Bills really fall apart at the second half because
I'm here for it.
Yeah, Joe Brady. I wasn't happy they kept him, and I know a lot of people are for James Cook, but I want to see more movement and stuff.
The reason they really lost this game was on McDermott, though. Like they're pinned back in their end zone almost, and they pass it deep twice to stop the clock instead of just running the ball and running clock and not giving the Texans time.
Yeah,
that was on McDermott. That was just bad coaching. So yeah, they could have won that game, but McDermott is a bit of a knob. So all right, let's
question my last thing with the Bills. I'm trying to trade Kincaid for a like lower tier tight end, and just go on the hype because Kincaid hasn't played well. And I worry that his value is going to start falling little by little because
Yeah.
Dawson Knox ain't going anywhere. They're sprinting the ball out. And Shakir is eating more in the middle of the field than people were expecting. So if you can kind of stay with the hype on Kincaid, I think I would do it.
Yeah. All right. I'm here to this next game. We're going to cover the Ravens and Bengals. And I'm here to apologize because ever since I said that Jamar Chase doesn't make big plays anymore, he's
I
made big
apologize.
plays.
This is because of you. You did.
I'm the reason. The reason is me. Yeah.
He
So
heard
ever
you.
since I said that Jamar Chase doesn't make big plays anymore, he's made one every single week since then. So yeah, you're welcome, Jamar Chase owners. I did trade Chase to Tyler in a deal that works well for both of us. I have
Guess
no
who
regrets.
capitalized on him thinking he doesn't make big plays?
That would be Tyler. But hey, I got Caleb and I got Chris Olave. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chase was on the case in this game. And you know, the Joe Burrow maybe had his best game as a fantasy quarterback.
He's
5
good.
touchdowns. He is so good. T. Higgins looks great, but they're 1-4. So don't be surprised if you start to hear some stuff around the NFL that like they're looking to move T. Higgins because they're not going to re-sign him, I don't think. So maybe
No.
he's a guy that gets traded here. You know, Devontae Adams on the move, Amari Cooper maybe on the move, T. Higgins on the move. None of these would surprise me.
Yeah, and like I was the one that was more worried about Burrow and his injuries, but Burrow is one of the best pocket passers in the NFL.
Oh,
like
yeah.
right now, by far. People are like, oh, in fantasy, you need to throw this many touchdowns and stuff. Burrow can do it. Like Burrow is just fine in that department. And going to the other side, Lamar Jackson. I don't know how he does it year in and year out, but it just seems like
he's 8th in the NFL in rushing, by the way.
Yeah, and he's doing it throwing too. Without Mark Andrews being a stud.
They
Like
have
Zay
they have
Flowers.
Charlie Kohler. They don't need Mark Andrews.
Hey, if you guys don't remember, Kohler was a very good tight end prospect. This is how the Ravens do. In the 3rd and 4th rounds, they just pluck these really good college productive tight ends and they just stick them on their roster.
Now,
This is
and
what they
going
always
forward,
do.
you have to pronounce Charlie Kohler. You have to say his name is Pop.
Pop collar.
Yeah, instead of Cola, it's Pop. I know where you live.
Zay Flowers, one of my predictions this year was he was going to eat and be a beast. He had a couple off games, but in a game where you need to keep up, Zay Flowers is going to do damage. Derrick Henry just defeats time. And he reminds me of old
He wasn't
Adrian
doing squat until that last run there in the overtime.
He's old
but he
Adrian
hit it.
Peterson. If any Minnesotan fans remember, it was always a yard, 2 yards, a yard, -2, 85 yards.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Derrick Henry versus the Colts was always good for like a 70-yard run every single game.
Yep. This is exactly what we dealt with Adrian Peterson throughout the years. And hey, it works. And he just beats it down until it's like, okay, I don't want to tackle this fucking guy
Derrick
anymore.
Henry's currently on pace for 18 touchdowns and over 2,000 rushing yards. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's
at 30 years old.
That's pretty good for last time I heard. So
yep. And I mean, you got Isaiah Likely with 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews finally with 5 targets, 4 catches. He had another bad drop that could have been a touchdown. I think Mark Andrews, this car accident mentally could have really messed him up because apparently it was a lot worse than what we all thought. And it could have been way worse. So Mark Andrews could have had one of those experiences like he thinks about like, holy crap, I could have died.
He's working his way back.
Yes, and I think that is the fact. Do I think he's going to be Mark Andrews old? No, because they got a lot of other options here.
They don't need him to be.
Yes, and Isaiah Likely, I do still really like him as a buy. Bengals, if I'm going on that side, Eric All at tight end, he is getting more and more snaps. And I think Jermaine Burton, if anything happens with these receivers, will get some playing time.
I mean, yeah, if they trade T. Higgins, then yeah, Burton should.
And your boy, Yoshi Voss, I think he's going to be legit next year.
He's good. I know he's not getting a ton of targets, but he gets the big ones in the red zone, and he does well with them. So that's something to say there. All right, let's move on to Broncos Raiders real quick. Bo Nix, I thought, looked pretty good in this one. I mean, the Raiders defense is usually a pretty good unit, but I think they made a quarterback change. They went from Minshew back to Aiden O'Connell. Now there's another battle there. No Zamir White in this one, so a lot of people started Madison. He didn't do all that great. The Raiders are just kind of broken. I mean, but Brock Bowers is going to be the savior of the offense, who had a Moss touchdown in the very beginning of the game, ran for 50-plus yards. He is the dude. He's great. I love Brock Bowers. Apparently, I've lost Tyler, but I'll keep talking because that's what I do. So, yeah, the Raiders, a bit of a mess right now, but if you drafted Brock Bowers, we talked about like late in the first, 107, 108, you're reaping the rewards because you have the dynasty, in my opinion, the dynasty tight end one right now. So that is awesome. For the Broncos, we saw a nice Javonte Williams game finally. We've all been kind of waiting for Javonte to have a good game. He got the work through the air. I think he had 5 receptions in this one, looked good on the ground. Jaleel McLaughlin scored a touchdown, as he tends to do. But really, the passing game for the Broncos is really what's been struggling under Bo Nix. So Courtland Sutton, he's a decent flex play every week because you never know when he's going to pop off. But for the most part, he's just okay. So let's keep it moving. Let's go to the Cardinals and the Niners. I think, the Cardinals won this game, and Kyler had that big run early in the game, so it was nice to see him get back to scrambling. I just can't help but think every time I see Kyler Murray run with a football, someone said it, and I haven't been able to see it any differently. It's like watching a toddler run away from a parent with a cell phone because he's small. He looks like the Great Gazoo. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Don't even remember what cartoon that is. But his head's big, his body's small. He's like Gazoo. Is that the Jetsons? I think that might be the Jetsons. I'm old. So Marvin Harrison struggled in this one. Only a few catches. He did have a big conversion at the end of the game to help them win, where Kyler threw off his back foot, kind of threw a rainbow, and Harrison came down with it. But Harrison's been very touchdown dependent. I think almost 40% of his fantasy points have come on touchdowns thus far. And, it's one of those things that I think we're seeing him be a good pro, and it's going to take towards the end of the season to get him really going. I think Neighbors has started off hotter, obviously, minus the concussion, because he's getting hyper targeted. And I don't see why they couldn't do the same thing with Marvin Harrison. Maybe it's a separation thing. I'm not real sure. Maybe they're not moving him around enough. But I thought Harrison struggled a little bit in this game. And like Tyler said earlier, the Niners defense isn't some great thing. They're okay. Let's put it that way. And then James Conner really took over this game in the second half, getting crucial first downs for them. I love James Conner if you're a win now team. He's a solid RB2 every single week, regardless of matchup, because he is getting all the volume. I don't even remember them using Trey Benson in this game. It was more DeMarcado that they brought in. And then Michael Wilson, he has good games here and there. And this was one of them where he got a lot of targets, but he's really hard to trust. So I'm not super into him going forward. For the Niners, it was a Brandon Ayuk bounce back game. We kind of all saw it coming. Juwan Jennings had his nice game while Debo was out. Debo was healthy. Kittle's healthy. Ayuk's healthy. That means Juwan Jennings isn't really startable. He did have a couple of long catches against the Patriots last week that made him look okay. But, this is going to be the normal volume. So you can't start Juwan Jennings going forward. Sorry. Ayuk looks like he's getting back to form. He got the targets. He got the yardage, which you love to see for him. And then Kittle scores a touchdown in this one. Jordan Mason, who's currently, I think, second in the NFL in rushing until CMC comes back, which hopefully is going to be in the next couple of weeks, but it's not looking hopeful. There's been conflicting reports about the Achilles back and forth. It's both Achilles. There's one Achilles. I don't know what to trust. Brock Purdy struggled in this one. Didn't put his typical Brock Purdy type of performance in. All right, let's move on to the Giants and the Seahawks. Ken Walker in this one, super active in the passing game, which I didn't see coming. I think he's got the third or fourth most targets at running back, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, considering that he missed a couple of games. And the fact that Zach Charbonnet is considered their pass-catching running back. DK crashes back to earth. The Seahawks offense kind of crashes back to earth here against the Giants, which I didn't think we saw coming. The Seahawks had that big game against Detroit. Looks like their offense is humming. And then they run into the Giants and lose. I still think Geno is a solid QB2 going forward in your dynasty leagues. The story here is the Giants, and it was really Tyrone Tracy taking over for Devin Singletary. As soon as Singletary was ruled out, I slid Tracy into the one league I have him in as a starter. And I know they started with Eric Gray. Eric Gray had a fumble. Eric Gray hasn't looked bad, but Tyrone Tracy has got that jukes move to him. He runs tough. Will I say that he has a little bit of Devin Achane in his game? I don't know if is that speaking out of turn, Tyler? What do you think?
I'm not sure about Achane personally.
He's got
but
the burst and the wiggle.
I would say he reminds me a lot of David Johnson back when he was like a punt and kick returner, and he was a little
He's just a lot
upright.
smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, like David Johnson was very upright, just a clear path type guy. He reminds me of that. Maybe like if CJ Prosise was actually good.
Oh my God.
I think he is a good running back. This might be the best game we've seen him have. I like him.
I mean, it's definitely his career game, but he's only had one start, so
Yeah, I like him, but I don't know if I love him, you know?
that's fair. We'll see how long Singletary's out for and see if he can capitalize on that. Obviously the Giants didn't have any Malik Neighbors, so the targets really went to Darius Slayton. Theo Johnson had his best game as a pro. I know it was only like 4 for 40, but I really like Theo Johnson. He's another tight end that I would try to be buy low on. With Neighbors back in this offense, I mean, Daniel Jones hasn't been bad, but with Neighbors back, it's the tide that lifts all boats, right?
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones has been fine, and I think he's played well enough to have the Giants be like, maybe, and then they can look at the quarterbacks in 2026 where the classes will be a lot better than next year.
Yeah, Neighbors is going to save Daniel Jones's job, and I think the Jalen Hyatt experience is officially done.
Yeah, it's done. Like he can't sniff the field. Every time he does, he drops the ball. He doesn't have consistent hands. It was that one magical year with Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, that's really, and Cedric Tillman being injured.
Yeah,
and he won the Biletnikoff, and now he's. All right, let's move
just
to
like
Packers.
James Washington.
Yes, let's move to Packers and Rams. The surprising one out of this one, everyone was blowing Dontavian Wicks all week long, just absolutely gagging on him that like, oh, Wicks is going to have a monster game. He was the #1 waiver wire ad. Everyone's shooting fab everywhere. And you got stuck in the corner with a limp dick because Dontavian Wicks went like 2 for 20, and everyone was like, fuck.
I heard the best description of Dontavian Wicks other than just now. But so he is a fantastic separator. The guy can run great routes and everything. He doesn't have NFL hands. And it's true.
He does drop a fair amount of passes.
He drops so many balls. And the footballers brought this up and they go, he has one of the best separating scores in the NFL, but when it comes to catching anything, he struggles. Like the deep ball, he's okay at, but man, all these curl routes,
medium.
Yeah, like he struggles with them. And until he can find that, and I think we all were happy with Jayden Reed. He is I think he's wide receiver 5 right now.
Dude, yeah.
He's a stud, and he's Jordan Love's favorite target in the middle of the field. But wait, is that Tucker Kraft's music? Oh my God! Yes, yeah. Tucker Kraft.
Tight end 3 on the season now, I think.
Yes, he's Wally Pitt, Luke Musgrave, which makes me sad.
Played 0 snaps.
And you know what it is? I think it's because Luke Musgrave isn't a good blocker, and Tucker Kraft,
a move tight end. Yeah,
Tucker Kraft they can just keep on the field. And
yes,
you watch like everybody's like, oh, it's George Kittle. Oh, you can't use it. He plays like George Kittle.
He's like a beefier version.
Yeah, he blocks like Kittle. He loves blocking. You see it down the field, and then you watch him after the catch. It's nuts, and it's just
he's looking
power.
For contact.
Yeah, it's just power. Like his stiff arm, I felt it. And if you were smart, and if you drafted Luke Musgrave and you took Tucker Kraft in like the 3rd or 4th round that rookie draft, and made sure you didn't get Mark Andrews, you won because Tucker Kraft, I think, is a legit end of the year, maybe top 7 tight end. I know,
it's possible.
I know, I said that Luke Musgrave was going to be the pass catcher you want with the Packers. I just said his name wrong, and it was Tucker Kraft because he's definitely him. And they found their tight end, they found their George Kittle, and hey, I mean, the rumors that Tucker Kraft was, Alabama offered him $5 million to go to Alabama, and he declined it to stay with the South Dakota Jackrabbits, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft is very good, and I think Josh Jacobs will have bounce back games. They've just been playing these weird game scripts.
Yeah, he's also been Emmanuel Wilson has had a good amount of carries, and he's actually looked more explosive at times. So, I mean, if Josh Jacobs goes down, I mean, I would roster Emmanuel Wilson. I have him rostered in a redraft league, and just because of like if Jacobs goes down, the guy's going to touch the ball 15 times, and he looks pretty good doing it. And they don't have anything else. Marshawn Lloyd's on IR, and I can't even name you their third running back because AJ Dillon's done for the year, thankfully. No idea who that is.
I think Marshawn Lloyd will be back, and he might be a second half type guy. Kyren, if you didn't sell, good on you, because Kyren is still a very, very good running back. They gave Blake Corum 2 goal line carries. Corum couldn't do it. Hey, he was known for that in Michigan. All you could do is score.
Kyren's like, give me the ball.
Kyren comes in and just snatches it from him. And also, I do want to say, without Kupp or Puka, Matt Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks we may have seen in our generation, like playing with nothing. He can do so much with nothing.
I was listening to JJ Zacharyason's podcast earlier today, and he was talking about he's in line for some positive touchdown regression. So it's a guy, if you can get him on the cheap, he's going to get Cooper Kupp back in week 7. They'll get Puka back eventually. Like, my guy, Jordan Whittington, who I like, who's been leading the team in targets the last 2 weeks and has looked pretty good. Left with a shoulder injury in that game. But yeah, and Kobe Parkinson has been a delight at the tight end position because the tight end position has been bad. So, all right, let's do Cowboys Steelers. This game sucked.
Do we have to?
Jalen Tolbert. It's the rise of Jalen Tolbert. Brandon Cooks was put on IR.
Not believing it.
A knee infection. That's not good. I think Tolbert is actually. I think Tolbert's pretty decent.
He's looked good, but they're in the market for a receiver. They've talked about bringing Cooper back. They've talked. I don't know. They've talked about bringing another receiver in. They've been in Devontae Adams trade talks. When you hear that and you see games like this, instantly in my mind it's like, okay, I'll go see if I can get a second for him.
Okay, they need a slot receiver.
They need a running back because Rico Dotto, he had a good game, but he has been bad.
I don't think he's been that. I mean, he's not Zeke bad. I don't think he's been that bad. He's been okay. He is playing more and more snaps every week, so he's a flex player, which is nice. But yeah, they could use a running. If they traded for a Chuba Hubbard or even a Miles Sanders, that would be cool.
Do you think?
But Dottle's getting the job done.
Do you think we see Russ?
I mean,
Fields, I think, lost the game.
The Steelers were in this game. They lost it at the very end. Fields hasn't played all that well. I don't know.
He hasn't turned the ball over, and I think this game, I think he looked his worst this year, and he didn't win the game for them. And when he's like, the game's like, okay, you need to go out and win this, he can't do it. Like when they got
are we worried about Pickens at all? Because this seems to be there was some Twitter video or X videos out there that he's just at the end of the game, yes, but taking some plays off and just being kind of that not a malcontent, but what's that? An enigma, if you will, is George Pickens.
Doug just said that. Go buy George Pickens right now. George Pickens is about to explode and throw his best effort on the field. No, I'm not worried. I think this is one of those things where Tomlin needs to have the upper hand with his players, and you know how Tomlin is, and his percentage of plays was like down to 56% because it was like a discipline type thing. Pickens is like this. He's kind of got that diva wide receiver mentality in him.
He reminds me of Steve Smith without the production.
Yeah. And I think Pickens is a good receiver. His metrics this year have been great. People have been saying he's due. And I think if you can buy low on Pickens, I would. I still really like him.
They're also in the market for a receiver. They have been all off season. Yeah. They were in an Ayuk. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to go after one of these veterans.
You drafted Roman Wilson in the second round. Use him.
He's busted right now.
No, he's not. He's healthy. He's been a healthy scratch. And Tomlin says he's got to catch up. He missed a
Wow.
lot of the offseason, so he
They
could
know
be a
how to handle
guy.
receivers pretty well.
Yeah,
He
he
could be
could
a
be a
surprise
guy.
second half guy for sure.
100%. Yeah, and they need
I
him.
mean, anything's better than Van Jefferson. I mean, Calvin
Yeah.
Austin's been okay, but like Van Jefferson,
Yeah, Van
What?
Jefferson, they threw a couple balls to him, and a couple of them were catchable and just bounced right off his chest.
yeah, he's not great. All right, let's go to the last game of the week. It was the Saints and the Chefs. Kareem Hunt revival game, 28 touches in this one. If you picked him up on your dynasty waivers like I did and started him, you're like, cool, and he scored a touchdown. That's awesome. I think we've all been on the Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't throw a touchdown pass in this one. Xavier Worthy has a run as well. Mahomes' value is just deteriorating.
So what I heard the other day was, I think it was on the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, and they were talking about Mahomes and how Andy Reid knew how to use him and stuff. But apparently Matt Nagy is calling plays.
Matt Nagy
And
low-key sucks.
yeah, he's not good. And if that's the case, it's all making sense because Eric Bieniemy also was with the Chiefs when Mahomes was cooking. Even without Tyreek one year, Mahomes was still cooking. And here we are with Nagy in this dink and dunk offense, not going
The
deep.
lowest average depth of target in the league. It's actually lower than Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, which is not good. And Matt Nagy is a problem. And when they keep winning, they're not going to think it's a problem. Like the only way it's a problem, like if it gets like fixed, is if Mahomes goes in there and says, "I don't like this. I want to throw it downfield more." But Mahomes, when he's winning, he's going to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, Mahomes had one play to Worthy where he threw it like behind him, and if Worthy were to catch it, there was another receiver there that was, in essence, would have been a blocker. Worthy would have housed it for like 60 yards.
Yeah,
That was on Mahomes. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster come back to life. Fun fact: the Patriots have $7 million of guaranteed money to Juju Smith-Schuster. The guaranteed money for their receiver core that's on the roster right now is $7.25 million. Just wanted to point that out. Fun fact. But yeah, Juju has a nice game. I don't trust it because I think the Chiefs are just going to do something different every single week. You're going to have the big Kelsey game. You're going to have the Worthy game. You're going to have a Justin Watson game here and there. You're never going to have a Sky Moore game.
Yeah. So
that I do know.
The one thing I want to say about the Chiefs is in the UDPL league, I got offered Mahomes, Aiden O'Connell, and a third for Drake May, Brock Purdy. And I was like, I don't know. Like in your mind, knowing Pat Mahomes, you think this is a smash. Like this is a dream, something. But in the back of my head, it's like, okay, Brock Purdy's out producing him. Drake May is one of my favorite quarterbacks coming out, and we haven't seen anything from him. He could be a really good quarterback. So for me, it's like it was hard to say no, but it was easy. It was one of those trades where you're like, okay.
It's one of those things. Two starting quarterbacks for one quote unquote elite quarterback who's not playing elitely right now. I was the same way. I was like, I don't know what I would take that. Like, I think Purdy is a back end QB1, and that's Mahomes isn't even that right now. Mahomes is finishing like middle of the pack.
Yeah, I think Mahomes is like quarterback 18 or 19.
Yeah, not
like
great.
he threw for 300 yards, which everybody's gonna be like, oh, nice, but he threw for no touchdowns.
No touchdowns, and he had a pick, right? So like, he's not rushing the ball. He's not, he's not doing any of that stuff. It's just with Rashee Rice out for the year now. By the way, Hollywood Brown, like they need to start to figure out how to scheme Worthy.
Cooper could go there. There's rumors Cooper could be the one that goes there,
that
which
would be a good
I think
fit for them.
He'd be a great fit for them. He's what they need.
Yeah. Saints, we talked about Derek Carr being out for a while and Rattler maybe taking over. Olave with a dud in this one. Yeah, he didn't do much of anything, but Shaheed had the big touchdown, and that's why you play him because
Carr loves Shaheed.
He's got that potential every single week. But outside of that, Kamara was pretty bottled up. He was active in the pass game. But just the Saints have kind of crashed down to earth a little bit, and then they'll have like a boom week, and then they'll have a slow week. And
also,
Taysom Hill will come back. Whee!
Yeah. Also going with the Chiefs. Rumor has it they offered a second for Devontae Adams, offered to take his salary, and the Raiders are going to say no because it's within division.
Which is dumb because guess what? The Raiders aren't competing to win the division.
And they're like, oh, well, it's going to help them. Our fans will hate us. It's like, hey, your fans are going to hate you if you get like a 3rd-round pick
Your
for
fans
Devontae
hate you because
Adams.
you're starting Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell at quarterback.
Yep. And they could, like, there's talks they could have traded up to go get Michael Penix and all this because they really liked him. Yeah, the Raiders kind of kicked themselves. And hey, they could have gotten Joe Flacco as well.
A lot of teams could have gotten Joe Flacco. Let's put it that way.
That is true. The Browns could still have Joe Flacco.
Miami could have used it. Miami cut Mike White. Stupid.
Yeah.
Anywho, I don't want to go on about that. That's going to wrap us up this week. Tyler, you got any final words for us?
No, we got through it with the technical difficulties. My computer trying to stop me from podcasting and my alarm
not liking a bent connection.
We finally got through it. Yeah, we missed last week, but I think it was kind of a dull week other than Ja'Marr Chase kicking you in the face.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're finally getting what we thought at the beginning of the year. It's finally kind of settling down. So if we can just get the tight ends to score a little more, Laporta to come back to life, and
that would
we'll
be
nice.
Good. I would like that. Yeah, I like that. All right, that is going to wrap us up for the Dynasty Happy Hour. I am Doug. He's Tyler. We will be back. I need to eat food. I'm sugar crashing right now. We'll be back in week 6, and until then, leave a like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a rating and review on iTunes to get us bumped up in the spot so we are more apparent. And thank you for listening. We appreciate it very much. And if you ever have any questions in the chat, let us know. Clint, thanks for interacting with us today. Miss you too, buddy. We'll talk to you later here on the Dynasty Happy Hour.